Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome to One on One. Thank the folks that make it happen. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul. Ambition Electric. Joe Davis and company for what they do. Greatly appreciate it for making this hour of radio happen. 402-464-5685. You can join in the conversation on the Starter Hammond text line or the Honda Lincoln hotline. But I'll say this. Jump on the video stream. We'll have some fun with it in this hour as well. A couple of things in play. We're in a mood, a coaching mood. And every now and then a coach pops up and reminds you of what your North Star should be. Every now and then it happens. In this case, we're going to bring one to the phone and we'll bring one to air. But Mark, if you would please, if you would hit his music.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song, he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
That has to just settle you into your space. Into your good space. Let's bring him in. Coach Barry Thompson, BT. What's happening, man?
DP, are you with me?
DP, are you with me? Right here. Ain't going nowhere. Barry, we have to set the tone for the conversation today by playing a clip that you and I talked about yesterday. Mark Allenweiler, if you would, take us to Coach Tomlin, please.
Right. And in an effort to do so, we better manage the collective and the individuals within the collective. I love to hear coaches resist the responsibility of coaching.
What'd you say, Coach?
Because they're easy to beat.
What'd you just say, Coach?
I love coaches that resist the responsibility of coaches, that talk negatively about a dude that can't learn and blah, blah. Man, if everybody could learn, we need less coaches.
Yeah, that's real.
Right? If the group didn't need management, then we wouldn't make as much.
Yep.
I love reading draft evals and somebody's talking about anything other than pedigree, talking about how poor somebody's hand usage is. Well, that's coaching. I don't run away from coaching. I run to coaching.
Love it.
It all is in line with that not seeking comfort, because when you're a coach that's talking about somebody can't learn, you're seeking comfort because your teaching is struggling.
Listen, man. Every now and then somebody comes and resets the GPS for what you're supposed to be doing. And when you talk about your programs and organizations, you have to talk from that. What's the first takeaway, BT?
I heard it and it took my breath away. It literally took my breath away. And I go, yes. There are so many coaches out there on too many levels who do run away from the responsibilities of coaching. In some cases, it's my belief that they don't know how to coach. In other cases, I believe it's what Coach Tomlin said, that it's more comfortable for them kind of not to coach, to fall into these things. This guy is not this, not that, not this. And so We don't want them, and we miss the thing that those types of coaches are missing, in my opinion, is they're missing the transformative power of coaching. To me, the essence of coaching and the real reward of coaching is to help somebody get to where they need to be, right? We've had talks about this at, I don't know if it was you, another of my coaching friends. You know, when you have a young person in front of you, and there's that coach that Coach Tomlin's referring to, and they look at all the things that this person can't do, instead of trying to help them, hey, how can I help you understand this better? How can I change the way that I communicate with you? How can I adjust what I'm doing to accentuate what you do well? When a player has that coach that resists that young person walks through a different door in life. On the other hand, that same player, if they're lucky to engage with a coach that doesn't resist the responsibility of coaching, and for listeners, Coach Tomlin, of course, is being sarcastic there, but who engages with the responsibilities of coaching, they not only have a chance to get that person through another door, another path in life, or an easier path to where they were going to go anyway, but then that starts to affect the people around them. And it's just too many times, in my experience, it's a missed opportunity. And to be honest with you, those are coaches that I don't want to be around. And I enjoy being around men who look at a player and say, okay, how can we get him to do this? Or where do we need him? You know, and then having a conversation with him. You know, sometimes it's as simple as, you know, and what I do as a young guy's coming up, sit down with them at an early stage, say, do you want to do this? Do you want to play quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine that conversation, right? To a high school kid who's in ninth grade, he's 10th grade, and you know there's going to be some competition. And after his ninth grade year, just sitting down in the office, say, do you want to be a quarterback? Or do you want to play somewhere else? You know, like, just those things are just so important. And you let me talk, and I shared a video with you yesterday. I have a guy who now is being paid professionally to play quarterback. And I shared with DP, and I won't share it publicly because I don't want to embarrass the kid, but I shared with DP. DP, good with words, he can describe it. And when you look at that video, I could think of 100 people that would look at that video and told their answer to that young man would have been, no, you need to go play receiver. You'll never be a quarterback. And I know for a fact he's been told that. But my approach with him was, hey, if you want to work at this, we'll work at this. Now, there's times when I wanted to choke him.
Right.
Now, I'm not lying. It's not easy. There's times I want to choke him. Right. But he kept moving forward. You know, even when I was frustrated, he kept moving forward. There's a saying that I ran across recently that says, never discourage anyone who's making progress, no matter how slow.
Mm-hmm.
Never discourage anyone who's making progress, no matter how slow. And that's what happened. And now this guy's getting paid to play football, and he has changed. He's grown over the last 6 or 7 months, and he's changed the horizon of the guys that changed with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all that is gained just because I decided to say, hey, if you want to work at this, I'll work at this. That's it. Right? That if I hadn't engaged the responsibilities of coaching, I would have missed out not only in his life and how it may alter his family and his projections, but again, the other young men that are just below him looking up. Hey, I want to do that. Just by that simple act. Coaching at its essence is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that sometimes it gets lost as to what it's all about. And here's the great thing about it. It leads to winning. That's
What?
the great thing about it.
What?
It leads to winning. It's always like I've never engaged somebody that way and lost or regretted it. You know,
That part.
and I understand the higher pressure. Yeah, you got to win, right, and do all that stuff. But here's the thing: you can do all that stuff and still move somebody along. Maybe he's not your starter, you know, but you don't discourage them. You know, you say, okay, you know, this, okay, I want you to work on this, but hey, while you're working on this, I need you to go do this for me. I'll do this, and you take care of the rest. And teams watch how you handle people. They do.
Yeah.
You look at Coach Tomlin's interview and look at the bosses that were sitting down with him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, for y'all don't know, Fred Taylor was all about the business. And Ryan, I mean, he was one of them running backs you wouldn't really think about, but he was always posting. Go look at his numbers.
Yeah.
And Ryan Clark, you know, there's one local franchise. They you know, when they were stumbling and bumbling, they didn't have any use for Ryan Clark. Well, Pittsburgh found use for him.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know?
still bothered by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so easy to look at that. You know, one organization that had any use for him, and then this other organization, yeah, we'll take him, and then they realize everything he brings to the table, and he exits his career, you know, on a high note, winning consistently, competing for playoffs and that type of stuff. And the people that said, no, he's not this, he's not that, they're still stumbling around.
Yeah.
Right? And you would think that organizations that consistently do that somebody would be bright enough to say, whoa. Why are all these good teams wanting people that we don't think we have any room for? So
No,
why is that?
No, that's going to make too much sense. There's going to be too much
It would
logic.
make way too much.
Well, you and I have
go
been
ahead.
in this shared space. And there's a kid there's several kids that come on, and you and I could talk about former players who all fall. I mean, there's a bundle. There's a bundle of life influencers who we caught at a phase where, to be specific, there's one kid that during Easter break of his freshman year. Now, this young man had played quarterback for Barry on the freshman football team. And I then had him, my knowledge of him was just from that football season with him. And you kind of watch from the edges kids and how they maneuver and how they carry themselves. And I called Barry during Easter of the baseball season, and I said, it happened. And there's a phrase that Barry and I use, we got one. Like we'll yell, we got one. Because the bridge now becomes clear and clean for them to cross over and do the greater thing. But this was a kid that was my third team catcher and was our backup quarterback. But he had the thing that led me to be curious. The program head said, he's not that kid. He's not fast enough. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough. And I said, that's got nothing to do with whether this kid's going to be successful in life.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with it. And me and this kid came to me. He was down. But he showed up on a day when nobody else showed up and said, feed me, coach. Feed me. Am I wasting my time? You know, can I be good at this? And I said, well, first of all, you shouldn't be my third string catcher. Second of all, you should be up there playing with the big boys. Third of all, you should be our starting quarterback next year. But that's a decision you have to make. And within that, you have to trust that I'm telling you the absolute truth. And I said to him, do I have this is where that phrase came from. Do I have your permission to tell you the truth? And the kid, his eyes got big because nobody had told him the truth, that he was underachieving and that he was underworking. And I worked with this kid for 2 hours a day over the next week. And then I called Barry again and I said, he got it. He got it.
Yeah.
So immediately this kid goes, I launch him above the other catchers. I put him in the starting lineup. He has 3 games at the lower level where his whole life changed. And he then became the varsity catcher the next week. The next week.
Yeah.
And then Barry gets him, and he asked Barry the question that all the kids really want to know. Am I good enough? Can I be good enough? And I remember Barry calling me and going, you won't believe it. He just doesn't get it. Like, he doesn't believe us.
Yeah, no, he a similar story, and DP and I'm thankful that I can tell these stories. You know, that was one of the first years I was on the Elite 11 circuit, and I had told a bunch of guys, you know, hey, I'm out here, and if you come, it's at Redskins Park. And I said, if you come, there's gonna be a lot of people around, so make sure you walk onto the field and find me, so I can engage with you. And I don't know, 10 or 15 guys. And so at the end of the event, he's the one kid that walks down with his dad, and he's bright. I think I've told this story before, and he's bright-eyed, and he says, his first question, he said, do you think I can play in college? I said, yes. And then he said, do you think I can do this? And I said, yes. I said, but here's what's involved. And I laid it out for him, you know, rearranging life and getting up early and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he was all gassed up. I said, you know, go home and talk about it. You know, come to me with an answer. I said, I'll still love you either way, but come with me and answer. Like, I gave him like 2 days or something. Well, he called back and he said, yeah. And it involved him getting to school around 6 o'clock in the morning and me physically teaching him how to throw the football. Right? This is after his freshman season. So this is right after. I might have had him a little bit before the baseball season. So he had started that process. So when you got him in Easter, you know, and it clicked over. Anyway, bottom line is he wound up getting an Elite 11 invite. And then his senior year, this guy that kept every year they keep asking questions about him, the head guy. Does he think his arm's strong enough? I'm like, no, he's ninth grader. Asking, is his arm strong enough? Says, yeah, he'll be strong enough. You know, 10th grade, is his arm strong enough? You think he can? I'm like, yeah, he can do it. And then they had a coaching changeover, and that coach wanted to run him out of the building, right? But I stayed there that 1 year to fight for him, and then he wound up throwing for over 400 yards in a game and doing lots of stuff. And yeah, it just hits me hard. And with a lot of quarterbacks that I have a 15 offer kid right now, and I remember the day. It's not far from where I'm talking to you. We're coming off the field when he's probably in 6th going into 7th grade or maybe 7th grade, and we finished the session. And his dad, who's a great dad, just was asking a typical dad question. You think this is worth it? And I go, what do you mean? He says, you think, you know, he's gonna? And I said, I don't know. I said, but, you know, is he having fun getting better? Dad said, yeah, he seems to enjoy it. I said, well, let's just let it keep playing out. But I remember that day, like, Dad he wanted to know, should I cut this off? If I had been that guy and said, yeah, he's too short, he started too late, you know, he's not going to be big enough, he needs to do it. This guy now is a 3-sport athlete. He's all district, all state, you know, all region, all this stuff. And if he picks the right program, he has he gets in the right situation. He has the mental capacity and the physical abilities to be a true freshman starter at a school, depending on what the room looks like and stuff like that. But he could land in a situation where they give him the ball as a true freshman and he'll go get it. Right. But
tell the story, Barry, that kid that we got early, right? Who makes the decisions and puts in the work. And you said we meet them at a place to help them become the best player that they can. But we both agree that we work from the space to get the best person, to be the best person that they can be. And so that kid that we talked about ended up at West Point.
Yep.
And that kid's now an officer.
Yeah. And, you know, and his West Point story, I'm not going to tell it because I'll start crying when he tells me, because he called me one weekend. I was trying to get a hold of him, And, it was unusual. He didn't respond. And I'm only going to go so far in the story, but he says, Coach, I started to answer your call. I was at West Point. And I go, oh. And he started to explain to me what happened when he was offered his appointment. Of all the stuff that he did, he's married and all that stuff now. But that moment, when he tells me that story about his appointment, when he got offered the appointment at West Point, that was really something. Yeah.
Because you believed in it. Because having people that believe in them and to look past the shortcomings to the greatness, right? Like it's easy to say too short, too small, too not fast enough, not smart enough. You say those things, but as Tomlin said, look, we're supposed to run to that. Like we're supposed to. And so when I hear coaches say, well, they go through all the recruiting stuff, I'm going, okay, those are pieces. That's clay, that's putty, that's whatever. And then it's your job as a coach to craft it and turn it into art and turn it into the other thing. So when people tell me that you can't win with all the talent and all the resources, no, that's BS. What you're choosing to do is to take the easy, less traveled way, the mentally lazy way, and allowing kids to struggle and the programs to struggle by not being honest with yourself that, listen, I'm accountable for this.
How do I make it work? Here are my pieces. How do I make it work? Or how do I maximize it? Rather than saying, this is what I know and all these pieces don't fit, so I'm going to blame it on the kids.
And Barry, do the list. We can talk we'll go to break, but I want to from that group, that core group of 4 years of a public school in Virginia, that at any given through players who passed through the hands of Barry Thompson, that there were 6 kids who went to West Point, 7 to the Air Force Academy, 5 to the Naval Academy, and 3 to Citadel.
And 2 and 8, 2 and 8, 2 and 8.
Right? Because there were people there that I said, look, the football part of it is nothing compared to the life part of it. And we'll give them boundaries and rules for how to achieve the things that they can control. But man, coaches can get in the way, bruh. They can get in the way. And it takes some really quality people away from that game, away from the team thing that happens, who work on the people. And
before we go to break, and just to the listeners, that was on the football side.
Yeah.
But on the basketball side, where the barriers were removed, there was a whole same group of people, wildly different.
Oh, we'll talk about that when we come back from the break. Barry Thompson here with us on One on One.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store. You're listening to One on One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The days of internet contracts and heavy fine print are over. It's time to experience hassle-free service with no contracts or hidden fees. That's the Allo promise. Allo Communications provides fiber internet, TV, and phone services with fair and no-nonsense pricing. All backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, 24/7 local support 365 days a year, and a monthly bill you can count on. Don't settle for gimmicks. Settle for hassle-free with Allo. Visit us at allofiber.com/hassle-free.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning in to Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side. I present the fruitcake. Long the subject of jokes, ridicule, derision, but did the fruitcake accept its place in the culinary totem pole? No, the fruitcake sought to rise to its full potential at Beatrice Bakery. Premium nuts, high-quality fruits, and the delectable trio of brandy, bourbon, and rum. Grandma's fruitcake is no punchline, but a decadent treat that packs a punch of flavor.
Check out Grandma's fruitcake and all the delicious desserts at Beatrice Bakery. Welcome to our world of yum.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Sutter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Sutter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back in the future.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff@brokersinsuranceNE.com. In today's day and age, people are trying to do more and more projects by themselves. That might be better on the wallet, but it can also lead to painful sounds like this. Ow! Poor guy, trying to do wiring all by himself. Let's have another listen. It's just not worth it. Don't hurt yourself or make things worse than they are already. For any of your electric needs, call Joe at Ambition Electric today at 402-217-3415 or go to ambitionelectric.com.
Bagels and Joe is in full summer mode. They'll add cold foam to the top of any iced coffee. Plus, they now have a Joe Coffee Club. Get unlimited drip coffee for just $8.95 per month. And don't forget their delicious breakfast burritos and sandwiches. Bagels and Joe, 4 Lincoln locations.
Get a lot of advice about self-care these days, but one of the most important self-care steps we can take is making sure we're financially secure later in life. For small steps you can take to save for retirement, visit WeSaySaveIt.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to One on One with DP, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to One on One. Barry Thompson, the coach, sitting in. Folks from Ambition Electric, making it happen with Barry Thompson. And Barry, I was telling Mark the story that, again, being under bad leadership can take good talent and turn it into bad football. And then outside of that, we're driving folks. And again, on teams that won 2-8, produced 17 military officers because of the stuff done away from the game, in spite of bad coaching. Then I remember calling you when we got into basketball season. And I called Barry and I said, you aren't going to believe what I just saw. And I tried to explain it to him, and Barry kind of grasped, okay, it's a little different than some of the same kids who struggled at football. We get them for basketball in a pretty prominent program, but the program won district titles, but they never won regional or state. And they walk out of the gym, and Barry Thompson texts me. He goes, "What is that? What is going on?"
Sorry to interrupt you. There was one kid in particular that I saw stand out, all this personality, and then I go, "Who is that?" And he said, "That's the tight end on the foot." I go, "No way."
Like, that's the kid that we would whisper to. Like, I would whisper, because the lead coaches, they were negative. They were disconnected, and I would whisper to them to get them through the football season, because they recognized that they weren't being led. And so the leadership that Barry and I were responsible for was getting them through the season on to greater, like just to get them through the season. And I would whisper, "You're greater than the people who are leading you. Never forget that. Like, I want you to live a greater life than mine. I want you to go higher. I want you to do more." And these are, like, think about it, that our starting left tackle and our starting tight end both went to the Air Force Academy. And and the tight end was the best player in the state.
Yeah.
And we said that it was our job to lead them to greater than where they were, to keep them true to the game and their passion for it. And it happened. You left that program because the players recognized that they weren't being led by the head guy. And when you moved on, I don't know, weird thing happened. You go to 2 schools and they win 3 state titles.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's the craziness. And, the kids going to Penn, and they're going to Virginia, and they're going to Alabama, and they're going to all these places. And you go, that's what we're here for, is to guide them to the better life by making better personal decisions and not accepting less in their situation and circumstance.
Right. And you, even on those fields, sometimes the difference is sometimes you'll run into something that's not right. But the difference is on those fields, the ones you talk about are winning, the coaches are open enough that when they hear something that's right, they go, okay. And there's no stubbornness to it.
Yep.
You know, I remember I was at another school and there was this one situation. On most fields, I probably should have been fired because I was correct, but I did it completely wrong. So we were on an offense, just to give you an example of how it happens in the good environments I've been in. This was a team that was rolling through the state and kind of a lower ESPN 100 schedule. Like it wouldn't have taken this squad another season to be like on ESPN, that August game. That's where this was kind of headed. And so they're scoring about 40, 45 points a game. And the head coach came, and they were two platoon. And the head coach came, and his defensive guy, he came down to the offensive end, and he said, I got this great idea. And, you know, and believe me, it involved taking the ball out of the hands of the best passer in the state and passing the ball to the best receiver in the state and passing the ball to the second best receiver in the state. And that was a formula that seemed all wrong to me. So he told it to the offensive coordinator, overheard it. And when the offensive coordinator turned, they both turned and walked away. The coordinator coming to me, I stood right there in the coordinator's face and go, we're not doing that. And he looked at me. I said, until he comes back and tells me why I want to take the ball out of the best pass to the best hands in the state and not pass to the best catcher in the state. I said, we're not to spend a single rep on that. And the offensive coordinator, who was related to the head coach, looked at me and he paused for a second, and we didn't spend a second on it. Now, knowing that there are conversations that can take place after practice, to the head coach's credit, he never came back at me. But that's the difference on being on fields like that, because it was the right thing. It wasn't needed. It wasn't necessary, right? And the coach can speak up and say, that's not right, and we're not doing it, right? And you know, sort of like, hey, I'm the boss, and you do what I say, blah, blah, blah. You know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the head coach, and I've been on those fields too.
One of my favorite Barry Thompson stories. We're on the bad program. And what happened was, so the head coach had been a part of a successful program as an assistant, and he got the head coaching job, and he brought along defensive assistant coach and coordinator, and he's a certain kind of guy. He's the prototypical football coach you see in movies, right? He's that dude, kind of basic, hard nosed. A couple of things about him is that, like, the dude would show up at practice with like holes in his shoes. And he's supposed to lead us. Like, you want kids who are going to Air Force academies to be followed by a guy who doesn't have the discipline to take care of his shoes and do that sort of stuff. But one day this is a scrimmage, and Barry and I was the receivers coach, he was the quarterback's coach, and we're going through our progressions of how we want things done. And then one of the assistants, who was the best friend of the head coach, came over and said, I've been doing this 20 years. We don't do that here. And I looked at him, and then I looked at Barry, and the look on Barry's face was basically the thing where somebody just peed in your pool. Like, and I don't mean from the pool. I mean standing on the edge of the pool. And I did what I do, which was I walked over to that coach and gave him 40 verbal lashes and walked away. Barry never moved. He was stilled by this. And he goes, what just happened? And I said, that was the identification of who we were as coaches and as a program. And Barry and I swore that we would never, ever do what that coach did. And so from that point forward, we coached differently. The players saw it. The players appreciated it. And as Tomlin said, he runs to coaching, where players run to coaching too.
They do. Absolutely, they do.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes. That is,
and that's true.
Yeah,
that's true on the university level. That's true on the Power 5 level. That in the Big Ten, players run to coaches. Guys who are going to coach them, not guys who are going to placate them, because those dudes will get you fired. Those placate dudes will get you fired. It's the coaches that get run to, where players who are coachable, they want to be led, they want to be directed. Those players are there. Is that still a statement of truth as far as you watching things from 10,000 feet?
Yeah, it is. And I guess it speaks a little bit about the retention from a business standpoint, right? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It was a guy who is beginning to train quarterbacks, and he came up and worked on the camps, and he's been effusive with his praise and so forth. And he was asking me about, just my approach, and he was describing his approach. And I said, well, listen, it's real simple with me. I said, when somebody, and I'll take this to the broader point, when in this day and age, when somebody chooses, out of all the options that everybody has today, chooses to spend their time and their resources with me, I believe I have an obligation, first and foremost, to make sure that they feel that that time is valuable. And the way that I can deliver that value is I've got to find a way to move them forward enough. We use that phrase a lot. So the fact that I'm teaching them how to throw the football, play position, it's really just a byproduct, and it's how I'm doing it, right? And so when that's done, then all of a sudden you're getting results, and players keep coming back year after year after year. And like you said, in our area, they have a lot of different choices of where they can go. They don't have to come train with me. They can go somewhere else. They're in college. They have buddies around. They can go do this or go do that, or, but they always find a time to come to the field. And yes, they run towards that coaching, because when they do show up in the field, they will be coached. Like about 3 weeks ago, a couple guys were getting lazy about showing up on time. You know what I mean? And I let them know that, you don't do that over there. Don't do it here to me. I'm a coach. So yeah, the players just run to it because they want to get better. One of the things I think that's sometimes misunderstood with players is when they show up for a season, right? They come out for basketball, they're coming out for football, whatever it is. They're there for a reason. They're not just there because they didn't have anything else to do that day. So there's a certain level of commitment that's already there, right? That by them showing up.
Yeah.
So then it becomes, okay, so now what am I going to do with you while you're here? Am I going to dog cuss you and tell you what you can't do? Or I'm going to show you what your value is to this thing that we're trying to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a simple proposition. Which way is this going to go? Right? And it just seems to me that the more winning part is to find a way to find their value to what's going on. And that's why I say with a lot of these good coaches, successful coaches, and I think Coach Tomlin referred to it, he talked about managing the collective. I'd like to hear him talk about a lot more about managing men, but you can see that reflected in that interview of the men that he has managed, like their Ryan's reverence for him. And if any of these good coaches that are successful over time, go talk to their players. They're bright, they're intelligent, and they revere the coach because of how he managed them, how he managed their development, how he managed them in the tough times, and how he managed them in the good times. Right? That structure, right? That thing that he constantly gave them, those guideposts, were always true and authentic to them. And when they step outside that, they realize that it's not always like that in the world, but they've been infected with enough of it that they go on and do quality things, and they're quality people. And it's, you and I and guys who talk about coaches this way have been blessed with 1, 2, 3 people, 4 or 5 people who have provided those two things. I believe in you, and let you know, hey, this is the right way, that's the wrong way, and I'm not going to let you do the wrong way because you're too good for that.
Repeat that,
I
please.
think
Repeat that, please.
Yeah.
I just like people miss it, and I don't care
Sometimes
what.
you have to take me, DP, because
Well, this is the thing.
The two things. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the right way and the wrong way. And I think too much of you to allow you to do something wrong. Right. You're better than this. Go this way. Right. And that's when the quote discipline comes in. The discipline isn't just to get you to snap like a Pavlov's dog. The discipline is to show you that the discipline is to continue on this path, to do these things this way. That's the discipline. And when you veer from it, I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'm going to do my best to get you back on track. And I'm going to show you how good that path is, how many bright, sunny things are in that direction. Right? That's the discipline. And it's not the same for everybody, right? The different people, and so you have to sometimes engage them differently to get them to go on the same path. Talk about that one school when I had that JV team, that the biggest guy on the team, right? I had to go a different path to talk with him. I talked with him in a way that I didn't talk with anybody on the team.
Yep.
He had a set of circumstances different than anybody on the team, but it was all an effort to get him to be a part of the team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he needed.
He needed to be a part of that structure and
he needed
those rules and those boundaries.
First and foremost, to get his priorities in order. Right?
The son of an educator. The son of an educator. Yeah. 6'7", big. You won points every day getting off the bus with this kid.
Yeah.
But he had not made the decision to be his best version, and he needed that around him. It's funny too, Barry. We'll throw it to break. It's funny. Today's draft day, and people talk about, and the whole Tomlin thing for me was very appropriate for today. In that when people talk about all the scouting reports and all the things that are happening with these players, but the two things that you talked about, that there is an organization and a boss who is going to tell these kids, I believe in you and that I will guide you with right and wrong if you're willing to follow. And I tell you, to a player in their pre-draft interviews, the decision to draft or not draft fell directly on whether the coach and the organization felt like this young person could come to their organization and follow the boundary to greater. It's just that important. They're all talented, but are they willing to be coached for the greater good of themselves and the organization? We're going to find out a lot of those stories tonight. When people drop, it means the person thought they knew more than the people who was going to guide them. And that's a big deal in this thing. Barry, we'll throw the break. We'll come back more. We'll finish up one-on-one. We'll find out what Barry's eating or what he's cooking. We'll do that next.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
They say one great thing leads to another. And that's especially true when you visit a Great Clips salon. When you sit down for a haircut with the skilled and friendly stylist at one of our thousands of convenient Great Clips locations, they'll not only make your hair look great, they'll make you feel great too. And that's something you can't help but share with the world. Download our online check-in app today and opt in to get a Ready Next text when you're up next. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Bagels & Joe is in full summer mode. They'll add cold foam to the top of any iced coffee. Plus, they now have a Joe Coffee Club. Get unlimited drip coffee for just $8.95 per month. And don't forget their delicious breakfast burritos and sandwiches. Bagels & Joe, 4 Lincoln locations.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Sartor Hamann.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Sauter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back. For sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Did you know that the U.S. has added over 1,100 new breweries in the last 18 months? Learn more by shopping at Myers Cork and Bottle, 13th and South, and by tuning into Thirsty Thursdays with Kevin Myers, because sports are better with a drink in your hand and a friend at your side. I present the fruitcake. Long the subject of jokes, ridicule, derision, but did the fruitcake accept its place in the culinary totem pole? No! The fruitcake sought to rise to its full potential at Beatrice Bakery. Premium nuts, high-quality fruits, and the delectable trio of brandy, bourbon, and rum. Grandma's fruitcake is no punchline, but a decadent treat that packs a punch of flavor.
Check out Grandma's Fruitcake and all the delicious desserts at Beatrice Bakery. Welcome to our world of yum.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Sponsored by DHHS and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Don't make a knee-jerk reaction when replacing your air conditioner. Good or bad, the decision you make today will save or waste money for the next 15 to 20 years. Just call Bryant. They offer some of the most efficient air conditioners available, up to 26 SEER. Let Bryant's specialists meet your budget and comfort requirements with their good, better, and best options. Call 467-1111 or visit BryantLincoln.com to schedule your free estimate. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Stone, and joining me is Andy Goodyear, General Manager of Honda of Lincoln. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Charlie.
Andy, I know you have hundreds of new Hondas on the way, but let's talk about your pre-owned inventory.
You know, everyone in Lincoln and surrounding areas know we sell new and pre-owned Hondas, but a lot of people I talk to don't realize that we sell all makes and models.
All makes of imports and domestics, right?
Yes. In addition to Hondas, we sell Toyotas, Nissans, Volkswagens, Kias, domestic vehicles, and we have more than 125 to choose from right now, with fresh trade-ins arriving daily.
Andy, I hear about many people choosing certified pre-owned.
They are, Charlie. It's like buying a new car with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty and a special low-rate financing. Best of all, the customer can take immediate delivery.
Come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
We'll see a chance of showers developing this morning, then becoming partly cloudy with a high of around 85 and a southeast wind at 15. We'll see another chance of thunderstorms move in this evening into tonight with a low of 69. And for our Friday, gradually clearing skies, a late day chance of thunderstorms and a high of 88. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We stand on the shoulders of women who came before us.
Women who fought for their own financial futures.
And now it's our turn.
Join us. Visit WeSaySaveIt.org and take control of your financial future by saving for retirement.
A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Oh, this is perfect. Paint your face. Get your hair all big and blown up. Pump up those arms. Get them full. Put some streamers around them and run down to the ring like a madman. Shake the ropes. Stomp your feet. Snort. Growl. Hey, we have our Ultimate Warrior moments, man. It's Thursday. Go ahead and get your Ultimate Warrior on. Barry Thompson with us. Hey, BT, go ahead, man. I got the napkin in the bib.
Okay. Hey, real quick, before a couple observations about the NBA draft real quick before we get into the food thing.
It's your segment, man. Do the thing.
Yeah, well, no, just real quick because you're talking about basketball.
All right.
One, I noticed that out of the top 10, 7 of those guys have either 1 year of college experience or no college experience.
Facts.
I thought that was pretty interesting, right?
Yep.
That a few years ago that would have been big news, but everybody seems to be blowing past it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I noticed too is I was really watching, talk about organizations. I was really looking down the list to see who has picks.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that Charlotte has 2 picks in the first 15. OKC, I think 3. And then you were talking a little bit about Bryce. I really like some of the organizations that he may have a chance to go to.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's basketball. Food.
You cooking or eating? What are we doing?
Huh?
Cooking or eating? What are we doing?
We're cooking.
Okay.
Then we're eating.
Okay. All right.
I started to mess around with the grill a little bit, so went with a little bit of a skirt steak, which is people are familiar with that. It doesn't take long to cook. But the thing about the skirt steak is what we put on top of it. There's a romesco sauce, and then I went with a chimichurri. And for your listeners out there, chimichurri is a condiment that in Argentina, where they eat way more beef than we do, you won't find a table without it.
Okay.
So if they like chimichurri, I think we ought to try it. So chimichurri is basic. Parsley, some fresh oregano if you can find it, a little bit of red bell pepper, a little bit of onion. And the thing with these things is you want to dice them up really, really finely. You don't want big chunks of anything. The parsley has to be chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped. You want a small dice on the red bell pepper, a small dice on the onion, some garlic, and then you're going to use your ratio of olive oil to vinegar. Your vinegar should be red wine vinegar. Some people go with that 3-to-1 ratio, and then a little bit of salt and pepper. You mix it all around, and if you can help it, let it sit for a few hours before you use it. It's good fresh. Putting that on steak, putting that on chicken, and we actually grilled some chorizo sausages. I love chorizo sausages, but putting them on the grill, whole nother level. The chimichurri just is another thing. So I'd recommend chimichurri. Find a recipe, make it, get on the grill, and you'll thank me later.
We thanking you right now. Oh, what you talking about? I'm sharing the pictures with Mark and Rico. I'm like,
yeah,
no, that's the work right there, baby. That's the work.
It was tasty. It was so good we actually had to do it twice. Because the first time I got the skirt steak, I kind of rushed it on the flame thing. So I said, we need to come back and try it again. And for summer eating, I think the plate you see there, it's real simple, right? Some broccolini went with it, nothing fancy in the meat. And then the other night, we had some grilled asparagus with lemon and some herbs, and that kind of went with the sausages. Really simple stuff. It just really, really good stuff. Chimichurri, I recommend it.
I got to make sure I'm getting the technique right on that, though. You're just dicing it. You're not throwing it in a food processor or blender or anything.
No, because if you throw it to the food, you want a little bit of texture. It's a good question. You want a little bit of texture with it, and the food processor will tend to make it like a smoothie, and that's not what you want. So part of this dish is it takes a little bit of patience, and just keep chopping it. If you YouTube, you'll see people really, really chopping it up fine. It takes a little patience, but it's worth it when you turn it out. Believe me, and it's a condiment that you can just use over and over and over again. Chimichurri is definitely the squeeze is definitely worth the juice.
Great, we're all hungry now. BT, well done, brother. Thank you once again for sharing an hour with us and sharing your heart. It's greatly appreciated, brother. And there'll be some folks who are grilling today because of you. BT, thank you, brother. Love you, man.
All right, thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
That's Barry Thompson. Leaves you with something for the soul and something for your heart. Good stuff all the way around. Don't go anywhere. The captain for Sean Jackson. Up next, here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com.